Hi, this is Robert Greening. This is our first episode of our new podcast called Don't Be That Lawyer, Real Mentorship for Young Lawyers. Welcome to the podcast. I'm really excited to get this started. We're going to have a great time. You're going to learn a lot. We're going to have guests here from time to time. We're going to have all kinds of different things for you to learn. And really, for the introductory podcast here, or I guess I should say our inaugural podcast, I wanted to sort of let you know who I am and where I'm coming from. I have been practicing since 1990, so that's 36 years. I've been practicing exclusively in the area of plaintiff's personal injury law in the state of Texas. Our office is here in Dallas, Texas, but we handle cases all over the country. And we do all kinds of personal injury matters, everything from medical malpractice cases to trucking accident cases to car accidents, premises liability, just really everything. I got board certified in personal injury trial law after I'd been practicing about 5 years, and I've tried a lot of cases. I've settled a lot of cases, and through the years, I guess I've had my own law firm since about 2003, where I was the principal in the law firm. I've supervised a lot of lawyers. I've hired a lot of lawyers. I've fired a lot of lawyers, and so I feel like that I have a lot of credibility in terms of having this podcast and helping young lawyers be the best that they can be. So that's really what this podcast is about, is just giving practical advice for young lawyers. It feels like yesterday that I was right out of law school, even though it's been a long time ago. And I think that the problems in situations that you find yourself in as a new lawyer or a young lawyer in a firm are the same as they were back in the early 90s. And so I hope I can help. And I want this to be interactive, so I want you guys to email us or send comments or whatever you want to do to communicate with us so that we can be responsive and provide you content that you want and need. So the best way to contact us would be to email me at rgreening@greeninglaw.com, and I will be as responsive as I can to your emails. And so the other thing I wanted to tell you was just a little bit of how I got started and when I was a young lawyer and what that was like for me. So I got out of law school, like I said, in 1990. I had clerked for 2 different law firms between my second and third year, and I got offered a position at the plaintiff's law firm that I worked for. I also worked for an insurance defense firm, but I knew I wanted to do plaintiff's work. And I worked for a plaintiff's firm as a young lawyer. And at that firm, there were about 25 lawyers. I was in a section of the law firm that had about 8 lawyers out of the 25. And the 7 lawyers that I was working under were all very senior to me. They were, like partner level lawyers. And so I was having to deal with all of their work and having to prioritize all of their work, and they all wanted their work immediately when they gave it to me. So it was a very stressful time coming right out of law school like that. As you probably have already learned, if you're new to the profession, you learn a lot in law school, but you don't really know anything practically. You don't know the practical aspect of the practice of law until you start doing it. And so really what I'd like to do today is talk about sort of the 10 rules that I see for young lawyers to how to be the most successful. And if you follow these 10 rules, I think they could really help you. So it's sort of like what I like to say is the 10 rules for young lawyers so that you don't get fired from your first job. So the first thing I would say is be early to work and stay late. So get there before your boss does and stay until after he leaves. Um, the main thing is to make yourself indispensable to whoever your supervising attorney is or your boss or however your firm is situated. If you show up late, that tells people that their time doesn't matter, and it also makes you look lazy. It makes you look like you can't get yourself together in the morning, and where you may have worked really till late at night, so you feel like you should come in a little later, but that's really not how it works when you're brand new and starting out. So uh, be early, and early just if you're early, it just shows respect for the people that you're working for, and it shows professionalism. Um, so that's really the first thing that I would say. Now, the second thing is don't surprise your boss. And what I mean by that is uh, if you're really struggling to meet a deadline, because like when I started, I had 7 other lawyers I was working for, but maybe there's a deadline for this one lawyer, but then I've got other deadlines for other people that I'm doing work for as a young lawyer. You got to learn to prioritize your deadlines and prioritize all of the people that you're working for, their work, so that you can get everything done on time. So the main thing I would say is, when I say don't surprise your boss, is let your boss know that, well, you want this by Friday, but I've got this other guy who wants me to have 3 other things done for him by Friday also. So, you've just got to communicate with your supervising attorney or the people that are giving you work that are over you to make sure that you can meet everyone's deadlines and let them know what's going on. Because what I mean by saying don't surprise your boss, I mean, don't come to him on Thursday night when everything's due on Friday and say, oh, sorry, I couldn't get that done, or I'm not going to be able to get that done because I had all these other deadlines. That's a surprise. And they're sitting there thinking you've got it covered because you didn't tell them otherwise. So it's better to let them know ahead of time what's going on so that they can get you some help, or they can give it to somebody else or whatever. I mean, you just have to communicate and let them know how much work you have. You're only one person. So I think if you just communicate your schedule with people, they'll have respect for your schedule, and they can help you prioritize your work as well. The other thing I mean by not surprising your boss is, we all make mistakes. So if you make a mistake or you mess something up, tell your boss that you did that. Don't try to hide it from your boss, because they're going to find it sooner or later. They're going to figure it out. And if you make a mistake, let them know early on so that maybe that mistake can be fixed. If you wait too late to tell them about a mistake, then there's not enough time to fix it sometimes. And bottom line is, if you need help, ask for the help early. Just ask for the help early so that things can all get done. The third thing I would say is to make sure that you return calls from clients or from other attorneys that have called you. Or nowadays, nobody really calls. There's more texting or emailing. So make sure you return all texts and emails that you receive from clients or from supervising attorneys or other people that you're working with in your office. Silence creates anxiety for your clients. If you don't respond to them, it creates anxiety. If you don't have time to respond to them, ask your secretary or your paralegal to respond to them for you and let them know what's going on. I always tell my clients that I'm like, they understand, a lot of our clients have never hired a lawyer before. So, but they have gone to the doctor. So clients understand how doctors work, and I try to make the same analogy and tell my clients, look, so-and-so, my paralegal is like my nurse, and I'm like the doctor. I'm not always available because I'm in trial or I'm in a deposition. Same thing as a doctor. They may be in surgery or they may be doing hospital rounds. But my nurse can get you information. And so I equate the paralegal to a nurse giving them information or getting a question to me, and I can get them the answer. And clients get that and they understand that. So they just want to be responded to. It doesn't have to be you every time, but they need to be responded to so that they're not anxious and feeling like things are out of control or that they can't get a hold of their attorney. Excuse me. Even if you don't really have a response, you don't know the answer yet, give them a response anyway. Do a quick response. It just builds trust with that client. The fourth thing I would say is if you get feedback from your if you get feedback from your supervising attorney or one of the attorneys that you're doing work for, or even from a client, you need to think about feedback as a gift. Because, how are you ever going to get better if you don't know what you don't know? So don't think about feedback as a negative. Think about feedback as a gift to you so that you can learn and not do the behavior again, or that you can do something better than you were doing it before. What I try to do is I really care about the people that work for me, but I don't care about them in a loving kind of way, because what love does, if you love somebody, you want to just tell them what they want to hear. But if you really support somebody, then you tell them what they need to hear. And so I really try to support the people that work for me and tell them what they need to hear in order to be the best that they can be. And that's the way that you should always think about any kind of feedback that you receive from anyone. Feedback it's a form of mentorship. And so as a young lawyer, you should accept all of the mentorship that you can get. And if a partner or an older lawyer gives you feedback, and maybe it's not done in such a pleasant kind of way, still try to have that mindset and think about it as a gift that they're giving you. And whatever you do, don't argue with the person giving you the feedback. Don't defend yourself or anything like that. It's just better to take the feedback and learn from it. The fifth thing, that I would say that young lawyers should do, or a rule that you should follow, is to, when you're writing, you should write clearly. Especially if you're writing a letter for a client, or you're writing something for the court. Judges reward clarity, and they don't really reward cleverness. So when you write things for the court, you're not writing a novel, you're not writing a joke. Just be clear and concise. That's what judges like. Think about the amount of time that judges have. They don't have a lot of time. And so the more succinct that you can be, that makes your point the most clearly, and it helps the judge make the best decision. So short sentences, simple structure, no unnecessary words. That is the best way to write, especially for judges, but it's also the best way to write for clients. The sixth thing I would say is, if you have a problem that you see is going on in your office, or a client problem, or whatever the issue is, whatever kind of problem that you have, and you want to take it to your supervisor, don't just take the problem to your supervisor and expect them to fix it. Don't dump the problem on their desk, because they've got enough problems and they've got enough things to deal with. So if you're going to bring a problem to someone's attention, I always tell people at my office, you can bring me the problem all day long, but bring me 3 solutions to the problem, and then bring me your choice for the best solution. And generally, I'll take that solution and we can run with it. but don't just bring a problem. Think about what the problem is and bring a solution. That is the most professional way to operate in an office situation. The seventh rule I would say is, when you first get out of law school, it kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier in the podcast. When you first get out of law school, you know a lot of law, but you don't know how to practice law. And I found when I was a brand new lawyer that some of the paralegals in my firm that I worked at had been paralegals for longer than I'd been alive. And they knew way more law than I did about, in other words, they knew how to practice law. They knew about the practical aspect of using all of the things that we learned in law school. Even though they'd been doing it for a long time, we just lost a light. Okay. Oh my God. Even though we'd been doing it for a long time, they'd been doing it for a long time, they still weren't lawyers. And I knew more than them about the law. But they knew more about how to practice than I did. So it's really important. Number 7, treat the staff with respect. Give them the respect that they deserve about how long they've been working there and how much knowledge that they have. If you treat them with respect, they're going to treat you with respect back, and they're going to teach you a lot of information, and they're going to make you look good to the other older lawyers in your firm. They can make you look like a professional, or they can expose you as an amateur. So it's sort of like what we're supposed to do anyway, right? But don't come out of law school and act like, well, I'm the lawyer and they're the staff. No, they know more than you do, and you can learn a lot from them, and they can make you look really good. So treat them with the utmost respect. The 8th rule I would say is own all of your mistakes. Don't ever blame any of your mistakes on anyone else, especially people that are sort of under you. In other words, like the legal staff people. Don't do that. It's ultimately your responsibility as a lawyer to make sure that the staff does the work the way it should be done, and it's ultimately your name on the signature block, or it's your legal work. So don't blame others. Just say, that's on me. How are we going to fix this? Or here's what I'm going to do to fix this. If you are accountable for your mistakes, that builds trust between you and staff members, but it also builds trust between you and your supervisors, because everybody makes mistakes, even supervisors. So it just builds trust that they know that if you made a mistake, you're not going to hide it from them, and it's not going to come back to bite them later because they didn't know that a mistake had been made and it didn't get fixed. So just own your mistakes. The 9th rule that I would say that a young lawyer should abide by is to be reliable. Talent gets the attention. Reliability gets opportunity. So if you're reliable, if you're there before the boss gets there and you're there after he leaves, and you're getting all of your work done and you're communicating with all of the people that are giving you work and making sure that you can get it to them on time, and you always get it to them on time, they're going to give you more work to do, because they know if I give it to you, it's going to get done. So you want work. You want as much work as you can get, and you want to make yourself that indispensable part of the team. So be reliable. The last thing I would say is protect your reputation. That's number 10. Your reputation is really all that you have in the legal world. And the legal world is much smaller than you think it is. You will run into the same lawyers in your practice area for the rest of your career. your reputation will follow you for decades. If you lie or you don't tell the complete truth to opposing counsel, they'll remember that forever, and they'll never trust you on any case that you have. So you've got to be the most trustworthy person that you can be, and because that is your reputation. You've got to check your work, make sure your work is no typos, and it's always succinct and very quality legal work, because that's your reputation. You've got to do things on time and not always ask for extensions on everything, because that's your reputation. So I hope that these 10 rules have helped you today. This is a great way to start, I think, our podcast by talking about, my 10 rules. I've got these 10 rules for young lawyers written up in like a PDF. I'd be happy to send those to you if you want them. Just email our office, and we'd be happy to do that. I'm going to give you, I think, a better email address. You can email me directly if you want, or to get things like this, probably the better thing to do would to be email info@greeninglaw.com, and I can have one of our staff people send you this PDF. But if you have questions directly for me, email me at rgreening@greeninglaw.com. We're going to have this out and available soon, so I look forward to hearing from y'all, hearing feedback from you guys. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.